Look out, bad guys, it's Corvy and Pike. Corvy and Pike are on the case. What's up, guys? It's me, Pike, and my good friend Corvy here for the Two Summoners podcast. What's going on, Corvs?
I thought the intro died with season 1.
No, because we brought it back, remember? Like, we brought it back and then we forgot about it. And I purposely let you forget about it so I could bring it back with a bit more flair to it, you know, like a proper intro.
Bro.
Well done, us. Self 5. What's going on, Corvy? You doing good?
Yeah, man, I'm living the dream. You know how it is, man. Another day in the office, another episode of Two Summoners podcast. Man, I'm keen.
It's a big episode today. Like, not to sort of hype it up too much for you audio listeners, but it is like probably the episode almost. Oh, stop playing with your microphone, mate. It's like the episode. I'm watching everything, man. I'm watching everything.
The audio listeners, we love them to death. They can't see that.
Yeah, I know, but that's the ambiguity now. When they hear me saying stop playing with your microphone, they don't know what you're doing, man. You could be doing anything. But okay, guys, we have for today's guest, we have Brandon, or as you know and love him as Biopanther, the star top laner for the Chiefs here in LCO, absolute superstar, an actual legend in the LCO and the Oceania community. So, dude, I'm so chuffed we were able to get him. So we'll be right back. We'll be literally a second because we pause. Let's go get him in. We're back after our 1 millisecond break. We have Biopanther, mate. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us on the Two Summoners podcast.
I'm actually very happy to be here. Honestly, I just like interacting with like anything OS related. So I think it's just like a big opportunity for me to just interact with like the community. So it's nice.
Yeah, that's so wholesome.
Stop
Good to hear, man.
Oh, mate.
Literally, ever since this guy's entered the Discord, I said this just before, it's been nothing but pleasantries. He's just like, I don't know, he's sucking up to us. It's great.
I don't even know if it's just sucking up. I think he's just the most natural, beautiful soul person I think I've met in Oceania so far. Even beats Corvy. And Corvy's a bit of a bully though, but no, actually no, you definitely beat Corvy. But mate, we're so chuffed to have you. Like, I know I've been. And again, when he first joined the Discord, guys, I sort of said, oh, Corvy's a bit of a fangirl. No, it was actually me. I've been a big fan of Chiefs and especially Biopanther for a long time, even from like the Order days. So, mate, I'm actually so excited to have you on. Like, you're actually one of my favorite players in LCO. So this is just like dream come true for me.
Oh, I appreciate that. That was really like fun. Also the Order days was like really fun. I really liked the roster that I was on, and it was like, to me, I think one of my best years, to be honest.
Oh. Well, we're definitely
going to say yourself short, man.
Well, we're definitely going to jump into that. Yeah. 150 games, mate. Still top tier.
Literally.
So, Corvy, what's the first question? You can hit him up first.
Sure. We kind of want to just, for those who don't know you, quick, brief introduction. Who are you, man?
I am Biopanther. I play top lane for the Chiefs, and I've been playing Pro since 2018, so it's been quite a while. But I've been playing League since 2010, so it's been a very long time.
He's an OG boy.
Yeah, very OG. Like literally near beta. Like I've been playing this game for a very long time.
Oh, were you always a top laner though?
Oh no, my first role like that I made was AD carry. I loved AD carry. I like even the first pro team that I wanted to join was to be an AD carry. And it literally switched because the team that I joined already had an ADC, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to play top lane?" And that was like how my top lane arc literally began at all. So like literally, it was just a spark of the moment. Oh, just play top lane. So I was like, "Okay, sure."
Forced to play top feels bad, man.
Literally.
Forced in there and then just dominates it. He's just like, that's cool. It's 80 carry, that's all right, but boom, straight through. That's hectic, man. Like, I guess. Tell us a bit more about your career, maybe since 2018 when you started playing in the pro scene.
So I got introduced into the Dire Cubs, the academy system for the Dire Wars, and I thought I was going to play the full split of the OCS, but I played one game against, I think, a very like highly rated top laner at the time, ZZZ, when he was here. And I remember the matchup specifically. I played Cho'Gath versus Fiora, and like I won that game and I played really well. And after that one game, I promoted to like the OPL at the time. Like it was like one game and then instantly main roster. So like how my journey began was like really fast and really like shocking. But like I had to really get used to everything and like get like teach by the veterans at the time. So yeah.
One game straight into Direwolves.
Yeah, literally just one game.
How did you go from playing like solo queue into finding a team? Did you play like amateur for a little while? I don't know if it even was big scene.
I played amateur. I played on like different teams. It was like I played on like Team Reticent. That was the one I really remember. It was just a really like OG team, and I feel like there was a lot of time. Like a lot of the players I feel like I met earlier, like kind of helped me get into the OCS, and
Mm.
that's just how I sparked my pro career. Is just like starting off in the early days, play with like a lot of people in the scene, and then they just helped me gradually like improve myself so I can like get my name out there.
That's nice.
That's
Is there anyone
decent.
from like the old teams, the amateur teams that you still see around these days?
No, but I remember like some of my
Oof.
teammates was like Arby. I remember like
Oh yeah,
Larson. Oh, it's just so long ago.
Yeah.
It's been like even Wake was like a big one. Um, oh,
man.
yeah,
The
it was
rest of
a
your team crying.
it's a really long time ago,
That
honestly.
wasn't good enough. He doesn't remember.
Yeah, it's really long, honestly.
But yeah, like that's. But you've been in the scene for so long. Like, what's
Yeah,
sort of kept you driven this whole time? Because like, you're at the top. You're the top tier. Like, what's kept you
yeah.
going?
Like for me, I have a lot of like respect for the game, and I feel like because like I never wanted to become a pro at the start, because like I only played this for fun. I only started considering going pro like close to 2017, 2018.
Mm.
So like my transition into it was just the fact that like I really enjoyed the game. It made me like I respect League a lot because it kind of like gave me social skills. It gave me it just made me the person I am today. And I feel like I have so much to like give back to the game. So like I respect it so much so that I just want to do the best I can, leave my mark on this game, and when I'm done, then I'm done. But like I feel like for me, I just love this game so much. It's so fun, and then like I have that competitive drive, so it just keeps me going.
What's that mark? Like, that's again gonna fangirl really hard.
Yeah.
Best answer I've ever heard in my entire life. Tough to hear that. What's your mark though? You said you've got like a mark that you want to leave
Mm,
it on League. What's your
yeah.
ultimate goal?
I just want to like leave a positive influence to see that like to show that like anyone that's like up and coming and wants to like reach the highest that O's can ever be, that like they see me as like someone that they can reach out to for the knowledge, and see that like this person's like actually wants to win, and show like have appreciation for the roots that they came from. Like I came from like O's, and I want to represent O's like at the end of the day. And like this to me, that's what I want to do when I go to like PCS, like when I went to MSI and Worlds, is that like I want to represent my region and like show the love, and like because there's so much fan support that I want to like show off and like appreciate. So like for me, like that's what matters most. So yeah.
Yeah, that dedicated mindset's really nice to see,
Mm.
especially someone that just kind of like wants to go out and set a good example for everyone else.
Yeah, because like for me, it's like I used to be like that person where like, oh, I want to be like this, and like there was no one else to like reach out to, or there's other people that you're like, oh, I want to be like this person. But like when I'm in that position now, I just want to like show that like other people can reach this position when my time is done, so like they can continue it. But then like I'm always like left in that legacy to be like, oh, the best top laner in O's, and like will always be remembered there. So yeah.
Man's thinking about when his grandchildren come around, they're going to be
Yeah.
talking about the greatest top player in
No,
OSG,
for me, yeah,
Biopanther.
no, for me, like I think it's just so inspirational to think that like I like once I'm done and I have like children or like family members, I can just reach out to them and say like this is what I did, and it's like such an inspirational thing. Like I just think it's like something that I can share to like family and friends, that like they just gain that inspiration to do whatever they want in life. You know, if that makes you happy, just go for it. And like I think it's just a good like setting stone in general.
I
Bro,
love
your
that, dude.
mindset's so sick.
That's so good.
Also, give
All I was
yourself some
thinking,
credit.
the whole time is just like it's season 84. Biopanther's coaching like his grandson, who's just gone to the top lane, and he's just like, "Oh, what champion should I play? I'm versing a Fiora," and it's just like, "Oh, you play Cho'Gath. That's where you
Yeah.
start. That's where you
Fiora's meant
start."
to dumpster Cho'Gath, though, to be fair.
Yeah, honestly.
That's
Well, I was just
awesome.
gotta say, give yourself some credit, because I know some top laners now that you've like DM'd. Like you DM'd Kenna Kung Fu like ages ago. You've
Mm,
messaged like other people. You're consistently like in touch with some amateur people now, and they
yeah.
do look up to you like right now.
Mm,
So give
Yeah.
yourself some credit. Like you might be thinking of like, oh, I want to leave a mark. I think you've left a pretty decent mark on like
yeah.
League of Legends as it is. Plus, I don't think the league would be the same like LCO starting up without having like continuing faces from the old league to the new league.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people see you as like the grandstanding player that's kind of just like pushing the league forward. You're definitely one of the more respected players out there.
I think
Mm,
it's really hard when you don't have like people like long term in the scene. Like when it's just
Mm,
new faces all the time, you're kind of just like, oh, there's no longevity in it, and then there's no one to keep supporting and rooting for. Like when you see like the big names of like Shern or like me, like you have these players that you can always just be like, oh, another season. I always have hope, like they're always getting better. So it's just like, in my opinion, it's just like it's always nice to have like a veteran. So like you just have that consistency wherever they go. I'm always supporting. So yeah.
My man.
Like for me, I just like when I help these other like top laners as well. Like for me, I have this like philosophy where like if I have knowledge, like what's the point of having all this knowledge if I'm not gonna share it? Like at the end of the day, like I've had all this experience and all this knowledge of the game. Like why not share it? Like what is the downside to it? Like at the end of the day, like I wish that I had so many like all this information that I have now that like when I was starting up. I wish I had like the people like wanting to give me help when I needed it. Like it is such a like a thing that like is kind of like foreign nowadays, and I think like I want
mm,
to bring back that like idea that like everyone helps each other and everyone like has everyone's like at the end of the day it might be a competitive sport, but at the end of the day like if you just know like in my heart like when I help people like I just know that if I verse them I'm going to beat them, like in my heart I will beat them, but like at the end of the day like what's the point of like negating them from the information that I know and help them on their journey to get better. So then that helps me, that helps me improve, that helps me get better, that helps me like just become the person that I want to be. So like I just think
Yeah,
it
and the
like
whole region.
yeah, all
yeah.
around it's like a circle like motion of like, oh, everyone helps each other and then like we all get better. So yeah.
Man, facts. Do you find it harder now for like someone coming from solo queue to like get into like the LCO now that
Mm,
there's not like a
Mm.
promotion league?
I think yeah, like I think it's really hard. In my opinion, okay, this is like a hot take, but I think that a lot of like the veteran or people that are like playing now don't have the same drive as they used to, and I think
mm,
that like it does negate a lot of like new players coming into the scene because it's like once you have like a bad opinion on someone, it's when they're like when a pro player has like a bad opinion on someone, like it's very hard for you to like ever get into the scene. That's just end of it, that's just the end of it.
mm,
And like my opinion is that like a lot of these pros don't have the same like passion for the game. So then, like, they're kind of just holding their spot because of their status without like having the performance to back it up. And I think it's
mm,
like I think it's really hard to get into the scene when that's what I'm saying with like the community is very like shut in, where they're like, oh, I'm the best, I'm that, and like you can't touch me, and like, oh, you want help? No, like I think it's just like very foreign in OS, and that's why I think that like we kind of do fail a lot because like we're kind of just not helping each other as a region and not helping like everyone, and I
Mm.
think it's one of our biggest downsides.
Yeah, what's
that,
that saying? A rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah, I remember
mm,
that quote. Yeah, I think it's just a really big thing that like OS does have a problem with, and like there's a lot of
yeah,
new players. Like for me, like I think a big example was Chirp. Like
yeah,
Chirp, like 2 years ago, like was being talked about, and like it's only like now that he's getting like recognition or even like put himself on a team, and I think that's like you can just see that like there's not enough like people like giving him the information, the
mm,
support to even start his pro career in a healthy environment to like grow, and it's just like, oh, perform or like get replaced, and like that's
mm.
that's really like sad
Well,
to me.
in on that note, so gatekeeping has been such a big topic
Yeah.
throughout this podcast since day one. We've talked about what could be better, what could be worse. Like we've
Mm.
sort of delved into all that. You sort of talk so strongly about supporting each other. Is there anything you can see pro players or even just high elo players should be doing more of? Do you think more content, like is it sort of like this sort of content, like a podcast or information sharing? Do you think there should be more of that in OS? Like, what do you think is the best way we could improve the scene in that instance?
I think having a proper like growing system, I like with like, because like for me, it's good to have like the academy teams and like the
Mm,
amateur teams, but I think that like a lot of them don't get the same recognition that they should, and that's what I'm saying. I just feel like there's not a lot of love for like the up and coming, but there's just like the natural love for the people that's already in. But
mm,
that's what I mean. Like the already in already get the like the support, the love, the fans and everything. But like the people that are up and coming, they don't get as much, and like when they lose that one shot, they like, or if a pro player doesn't like him, then he just never gets in, and I think
mm,
that's like I think the biggest downside. I think having more recognition for like the up and coming, or seeing like, oh, this is the hope of OS, or this is like a new player coming up, or like something like that, or like having just a more dedicated academy system, it would
Yeah.
probably be like a big system
So
for
you've
us.
had a good sit down with Carbon, with our old boy Tim, and just said, "Mate, come on, mate, let's get an OCS going on. When's this starting? Like, how are we getting this going?"
Yeah,
I'm
I think
imagining
it'd be
you
good.
doing that.
I think it would be good. I just think that there's a lot of course there's like a resources and like the time, but I think that like the biggest way to like get um more people into the scene is just to have the people that are like trying to get into the scene more recognized, because like
Mm,
that's how I got recognized, is like I went through the academy system, but like it's just that like for me, like I got lucky, like I got lucky with that one game and I just went into the pro scene, like for me
yeah.
it's like I had that jump immediately, so like I was able to be on like the best team, so like I got to like learn a lot and become the player that am, and then like over the years, then like you can just see that like, oh, I'm growing. I have my downfalls, but I also have my like risings. But like a lot of these players that are like up and coming don't have the same luck as me, and that's like I
Mm,
think a really sad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
mm,
I genuinely feel like, and not a relegation league, but some sort of like level below would make a lot of people that you said it before, like a lot of people are just
Mm.
kind of holding their spot, and there's no real hunger to
Yeah.
consistently improve. Besides the fact that if you do bad for a string of time, then
Mm.
they'll probably look to replace you with someone else. But that turnover of players is something what Pike was saying, like, is something we've been talking about quite a lot, especially with the managers and coaches.
Yeah.
They find it pretty hard to, because OC is ultimately a small region when you
Mhm.
get higher up. They find it hard to keep chemistry up because people, oh my god, and you said it as well. Like they formulate these opinions and they just don't want to play with these people.
yeah.
Yeah. Practically, like that's what I'm saying. It's like the whole region is like isolated. We're isolated from the world, and we're isolated like with each other. Like for example, like if I don't
Yeah.
like you, that's it. Like I'm done. But that's what I'm saying, is that like there isn't a lot of options. I think in OS is just like, oh, get the best players, and then the other teams get the rest, and just choose. But like there's not enough like people that like can fill these spots, and then like a lot of people like, oh, after league I don't have a lot to do, so I'm just going to stick with league, and then they just stick around, and then the people that are trying to get into the scene just never get the chance.
Mm.
Mm.
All right, well, let's move on.
Yep.
Describe your typical practice routine, like in league, outside of scrimming. So, what do you do personally?
Oh, I literally play every night. I play like solo queue every night. I VOD review every night. I watch games. Like I watch every region. Like the only region I don't watch is NA. I think NA is just a waste of my time. I think when I watch NA, I get like it's really bad. I think like all the other regions have like good ideas about the game, and I try and like
Mm.
gain information. But for me, it's just like I'm a hard grinder. I play the game every day. Like I wake up and sleep this game. So for me, it's like this is everything. That's what I'm saying. Like this is my everything. Like when I failed at PCS, like I want to do better. Like I don't want to just
Mm.
like go to PCS and like lose again. Like that's just it. Like I will push myself and my team to make sure they win. So like for me, it's just like this is really important, because like I said, there's so much OS fans that like want us to do well, and like how can we let them down? Like, you know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
can we let them down? Like that's just, and for us, like for me, like that is like marking our spot. And that's what I mean by like
Mm.
marking myself in history. It's the same with like my year with PGG. When we got through MSI play-ins and we got to the next stage, that was like a big mark in my
That's huge.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my big mark. And like for me, it's just like I want to do that again. I want to show that like I still have it, and I still want to do it, because if I don't have it, then I why should I be playing? In my opinion. So like for me, like my everyday like routine is just playing, reviewing, and then sleeping, and making sure that I have like a good like routine, so then like I don't get burnt out.
Sure.
How are you and Chiefs going in that? Like, I know we had a really good chat with Calvin last week, so
Yep.
that Bliss coach, and he's got some fantastic like ways and implements of what he's moving towards to also get through PCS. What are
Yep.
Chiefs doing that's kind of similar? Like, can you break us down that thought process?
I think it's more about okay, so for me, I think of like the split as like as school. I think of like the split as like anything else, where like you just keep learning the subjects, learning the
Hmm.
meta, and you keep adapting to the meta, and it changes, of course, but like then there'll be a final test. There'll be a test coming up, and then like all that practice beforehand will make the test easier. But if you haven't been practicing beforehand, and then you just like, oh, let's do a one night exam and like VOD review all night, and like you rock up to the test and you fail. That's how I see it. It's like it's
Mm.
just a consistency of like like the growing through the growing pains and scrims, like, and your individual practice and being like the best that you want to be. It's just that over time you just reach that point. I think Bliss have like a really like good infrastructure about like getting like outside sources to like for example like physical coaches and stuff like that. Like we don't have that same luxury, but I think that like that should prove useful if I could use that. But I think that overall like it's just more mainly about like having the same goal in mind and trying to like achieve it at the same time.
Yeah, so making sure your players are on the same page, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Doing your work, doing the homework, making sure you sit
Yeah,
down
that's
at
what
the
I'm
test
saying.
every week.
Because like that's what I'm saying is that like I think just think of the season like that. It's like you're just always like slowly getting better, and if you just skip a step or you skip, oh I don't want to do maths, and then like the test will come. You know, like the test will come, but like guess what? Maths will be in the test, and like if you fail it, you fail it, and that's just how it is, and that's why like I think of it as like school, and I think it's just like a good reference where like you need to be always practicing. You always have to keep improving, or you're going to be left behind.
Fair enough.
Man,
How would you describe the atmosphere in Chiefs, mate?
I think like the atmosphere is very like lighthearted. It's very jokey, and I think that like adding Kevy like the second jungler is like really good for the team because it gives us like more like opportunities and more like options, and like it's just another voice in the team, and I feel like we're just not as narrow minded, and I think it's a really like powerful source that we use.
Right.
Yes, it's kind of nice because again, I'm a big fan of the Chiefs. Like that's actually been my
Yeah.
team for yonks. Like I've actually sat in the chair that you're sitting in. Funnily enough,
Really?
like how weird is that? That I can say I've been in that room and all that. That's how much I like
Yeah.
you guys. But at the same time, what when it comes to like PCS and all that sort of worlds
Yep.
sort of stuff, actually, sorry, let me bring it back again for you. So you talked about how you're growing and you're learning throughout this split, and you're sort of using this as like the study period.
Yeah.
Do you find it actually challenging to go through the LCO right now? Like, I feel like you guys are such a top tier team. Is this actually preparing you properly for PCS? Is maybe the right question.
I think it's preparing us as much as we can. Like, of course, it's not going to be like the best practice, but I think that like we just have to be our biggest like the biggest target where we have to like aim inside and just say that like there's so much more we can improve on. We
Mm,
can't just like see that like this is the conclusion, this is the meta like in our games. And I think that like overall we just have to like just that's why I review like the bigger regions because like they have more
mm,
options, they have more people, they have more games, so like you can get to see like or how they form their games, their meta. And I think like that's why for me like I've actually been helping out like Ground Zero, Direwolves, who's the other team? Vertex about like just improving. Like I want to help these other teams because like I actually like the main team that I've been coaching is Ground Zero because like for me, like I just don't want to verse Ground Zero and like pub stomp him. You know, like for me it's a waste of time. Because like at the end of
yeah,
the day, like I'm gonna win and then get to PCS and lose. Like I don't want
yeah.
that. Like for me, I coach Ground Zero and like they've actually played a lot better. And like for me, it's just like
Mm,
even if the individual skill is not there, like I want to like get as much practice or like the best practice I can because I just don't want to be like winning this whole thing and then getting to the international stage and
yeah,
then we just
final
fail.
test.
Like I want to be able to like have this like pressure on ourselves that like I want to make it. Like I want to get past PCS and then like OS has hope. So yeah.
Which has been the trend, right? It's been like one team dominates
Yep.
and then they go over and then it just seems to they either fall short or they don't adapt fast enough or
Mm,
Yeah.
the competition level is just that much higher that you kind of fall on your I had no idea that you were coaching other teams. How did that start?
It's just that when like they reach out to me, that's what I'm saying. It's like when someone reaches out to me, like I'm just happy to help. Like at the end of the day, like if they ask, oh, like how do I play this matchup or how do I do this macro point, they just reached out and was like, oh, like we're in the dumps. I want to like place good in like the LCO, and I just don't want to lose. Like, can you help me? And I'm just happy to help. Like that's just how it is. Like if any team asked me, I would help them. It's just the fact is that that's why like I keep that competitive integrity at the end of the day where like if I verse you, I'm going to win. Like I know I'm going to
mm,
win. Because like at the end of the day, like I can share you everything, but at the end of the day, like I've been doing this and I've been practicing. Like if I can practice what I preach, like I'll be preaching these things, but like I've been learning this like ages before like I've
mm,
been like talking about it. So for me it's like I can say all this stuff, but like the experience is what like stays. Like all the experience that I've like went through, whether it's like, oh, this doesn't work, or this works, or this combo is good. Like I've went through that growing pain where like me just saying something won't like have that same like stick, I guess.
I can teach you, but I'll still beat you.
yeah.
Yeah, practically. That is like my philosophy. Like I will
My
help
goat.
you, but I'll still beat you. Yeah.
My goat.
it's the cockiness, but it's also the modesty at the same time that
Yeah,
is both amazing yet confusing.
it's good to have it's good to have an ego. Like it's not like, oh, I'm going to like just share everything. But it's like if someone asks for help, like in my heart, like I want to help them. Like I'm not gonna deny them
Mm,
like from them. And even if that's like a different competitor, like I help them like about their lane matchup, sure. Like I'll give them my opinion, even if they don't agree. Like that's fine. Like at the end of the day, like my opinion isn't like, oh, God being like all spoken, but at the end of the day, like having another opinion is just nice to like reaffirm, oh, this is right or this is wrong. And then like when they get better, I get better, you know. And
mm.
it's just that, like I said, it goes back to that cycle where like we all get better, so then we can like reach our goals together. So
Oh well, there
So
you
what I'm
go.
hearing is you coach these top laners and then you find ways to beat your own coaching and you
yeah,
just go up to
practically.
people. Man, that's a secret strat. Oh yeah, no, I'll reach out to me. Happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just study everyone. Like for example, like I know what everyone plays. Like I go through Game of Legends. I know what they prefer. Like like that's what I mean.
Mm,
I go through the lengths to make sure that I'm ahead of them. It's not just like, oh, like I'm versing like Biopanther. I'm like this guy likes to prefer to play these champs or like or prefs this season. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm just always ahead of them. And like for me, it's just like I said, if I have knowledge, why not share it? You know. So.
Yeah,
mm,
so let's bring it back to a position where you didn't have knowledge then. How was your time on Direwolves? And how did you go about like asking questions or the right questions to the people who
mm,
had more knowledge to you?
I think like it was actually like really funny because at the start it was really hard because a lot of the team didn't trust me, especially Shern. Shern didn't like trust me for a long time because he thought I was just gonna be like a yes man, and he thought that because I was like a new face, it's very like hard when like you have that veteran status and like one of the best players at the time, where it was
mm,
like oh this new person like he just plays one game, jumps into the OPL and like how is that a thing? Like and Chippies was like MVP that split as well. So like it's
mm,
such a shocking thing for like a teammate to be like, oh, why we were replacing top laner. And I think like Shern did help me the most out of everyone. He kind of like guided me about like every question I asked, whether it's like, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? Like how do I trade? Like how do I want to do this? And like he kind of like pushed me forward the most. And I think my coaching staff at the time, like Curtis and Rippy, were like a really big influence as well. So I think that's what I mean. It's like I got lucky because I got onto the best team, and I had like Shern, Triple, King, Cupcake. I
yeah.
had like really good names. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Is that like I had like the wealth of experience, and they kind of like helped me get through my stepping stones when I was just like a top laner where I had like no information, no knowledge, and they kind of like got me into the scene. And that's why like for me, like when I talk about it, it's like I got that information from them, and then like I just grew upon that.
Mm. That's kind of leading me to the question that I was like trying to ask.
Yep.
It's how did you find it as a rookie player? Like how did you find the right questions to ask? Because a lot of people are coming in and they think they know some stuff from solo queue or whatever. But how do like you level up your mindset to
Mm,
get to a stage where you're asking the right questions for like a competitive game?
I think you just have to be curious. Like you just have to just be open-minded. Like you just have to be like willing to like be wrong. Like that's what I mean. I feel like a lot of players are scared to be wrong. They're scared that their opinion will be challenged and like they won't understand it. And like when like it's just a natural like opinion where like if you don't understand something, you'll just you have a negative reaction to it. You just don't understand why they do this or why do you do this in this matchup? Or why is this a good matchup? And like you have that confusion, but you're not curious enough to be like, oh, let's watch some VODs together, or hey, like, how do I do this, or can you give me your opinion on this? That's what I mean. It's just that a lot of people just like get scared because they're like, oh, like I don't want to be seen as dumb or seen as like not like smart at all. And but that's what I'm saying is like when you're curious enough and you're like, oh, willing to ask these hard questions because no one likes to be wrong. Like no one likes to
mm,
feel like, oh, like my opinion is dumb. Like no one wants to feel like that, but like those are the questions that like you need to overcome to like be at like that level to be like, oh, always curious. So then like your mind is always open where it's just like, oh, if the meta changes, it's not like, oh, this matchup beats this matchup or like this that like you're just open minded being like, oh, this adds a new avenue. Can we like play around that or like what can I do about this? So I just think it's more about the questions in my opinion.
mm. It's like solo queue almost. Like you need to lose a bucket load of games to figure out what's going wrong, and then you start winning games, and then you find the next thing that's going wrong, and you're like, all right, well, got to start working on
Yeah.
that again. And you just always got to level up and ask the questions you think will help you improve. So yeah, I love that mentality. It's
Yeah, because like for me as well, like when I verse like top laners now, like when I verse like Damwon Khan, like that's what I'm saying. Is like when I verse him, like I get the raw matchup. I get the best of the best. That's what I'm saying. Like when I versed him, I got to see the best like Lee Sin versus Na matchup. I remember like for me, like no one can pilot like that matchup as good as him. Yeah. So for
mm,
me, it's like when I verse like a solo queue player now, like I might get wrong assumptions of like how this is supposed to go because I'm always winning. I'm always in a good position. I'm always like feeling like, oh, I'm winning. But then like when I verse a better player, like I'm like, how? Wait, he won? Like how did he get ahead of me? Like what is this?
mm,
So like that's what I'm saying is like you can't just always feel like, oh, I'm just the best player because there's always going to be someone that's like grinding. There's always going to be someone that's just going to like seek to be better than you. So like you just always have to match that, or you just be left behind.
yeah,
True. For every time you're not training, the other guy is. Isn't that like a
Yeah,
boxing quote?
yeah.
yeah. Okay. On that sort of topic, then is like, how do you balance like, or how do you manage like the pressures and expectations that come with being a top tier like professional player, like in OS? Like, yeah.
I think it comes back to like why are you doing this in the first place? Like what is your motivation? And like that's
Mm,
why like for me like my motivation is like the love for the game. Like I've been playing this game for 13 years now. I've been playing this like competitively since 2018. So like for me it's like you can just see from the core like initiative. Like I just want to be the best player that I can be, and I enjoy it. Like I enjoy like the process, and like that's why like at the end of the day, it's just like I can always go back to the fact that like I love this game. I enjoy it, and like it made me who I am. So for me, it's like even if I get into like a rut where I'm like, oh, I played bad, or I'm not that like guy yet, or I'm not I'm not that guy yet. I just feel like I can always come back to that idea that I'm just like I'm always still growing. I want to be where I want to like the place I want to be is like close, but not like forever gone. So for me, it's like
mm,
I'll be there soon.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I want to ask some questions about order and what it
Yep.
was like being a
mm,
player coming to the end of that, especially when it came to going well international without representation. How was that
Yeah.
with you, and how did you find that for the team morale?
Oh, that was like so like that happened after the MSI thing, but like that was like a really big like hit to the team. I feel like morale wise, because like the team was like they lost motivation. It was like oh because we got this question. It was like, oh, you're gonna go on the DreamHack stage. You have no representation. You're not getting paid. You're just going up there and just playing. Do you guys want to do that? And we're like, you know what? We're locked for playoffs and we'll do the best we can. And that's what we did. Like we just went on the stage and was like, oh, let's perform. And I think like for us it was like a big shock because like after our MSI run, we're just like, oh, we're gonna be compensated and all this stuff, but like we weren't, and it's just like it's really hard when like a lot of the players weren't getting compensated for like their work. A lot of
mm,
players like even like people like in order just lost their jobs, and I think it's like it was really sad. It was really sad. So for me, it's like it was a big hit to like the team morale, in my opinion. So
mm.
Yeah, you were saying at the start that order held like a special place for you. Was that like probably one of the favorite rosters that you had? It would be a bittersweet ending, so it could be kind of nostalgic to
yeah,
look
yeah.
back on. But
I
was
think
it
the
your
best.
favorite roster?
I think my favorite roster was the PGG
Yeah.
2021 with
Uh,
Pavu and like Chaz and stuff. Like for me, like that roster was like the best because I just felt like I could say anything and there was nothing wrong. Like I could always like say my opinion and like they'll like think about it. That's why I'm like it goes back to that curious question. They're always curious about what I'm saying or what I think, and they were like, "Oh, let's think about this or let's do that." And I think that that was like my favorite roster because like I could just be open minded and I had like a team that just felt like friends. You know, like it like
yeah.
a lot of the teams that I've been on, it's always like, "Oh, you know, we have the same goal, but we're not like close outside of the game." But like with PGG, I was like, I could feel like I could go out with these guys. I like even if I wasn't doing league, I felt like I could just go out, hang out with these people, and just like talk about anything, and like it'll be fun. So that's why I kind of like consider them as like the top tier, and then it'll be Order because like Order felt like the same. It just felt like the family, and it just felt like oh, it was a bittersweet ending when we all like we lost at the end, but I just felt like representing Order for the last time was like a big opportunity. So I took it as we could, and we did the best we could. So.
The hair dyeing buff of PGG. That's what it
Yeah,
was, mate.
Yeah.
literally. I went through that phase. I went through like just dyeing my hair every color, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give my hair a break. Honestly, it's getting too doomed. So for me,
I've dyed my hair once. It gets so weird, man. It gets so wiry.
Yeah, like I've done it like 5 times now, so it's like really bad.
Odds you go back.
Yeah.
It's a buff, man. Odds you go
It's
back.
a
You have to
Yeah.
dye blue or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Again.
Honestly, if I go PCS, I'll die blue. I'll die blue.
Oh, let's
All
go.
right, yeah, that's
Okay.
sick.
Yeah.
um, I guess probably the next little one, just sort of on the sort of
Yep.
coattails of that, is like, how do you handle like your criticism and like negative feedback? I feel like you sound like you're probably your hardest critic on yourself, just for how driven you are, but also from like fans and analysts as well. Like, how do you approach that through like your games?
So for me, it's mainly just the outside opinion is always going to be like very harsh because at the end of the day, like they don't understand what's going on in the environment. Everyone's going to like be like, "Oh, why didn't you pick this or why didn't you do that?" without considering, "Oh, some people just don't practice the champ or like they don't have the
Mm,
same champ or for example, I have to play a certain way because I have to compensate for someone else." Like that's what a team is. And like that's what I mean is that like not every team is perfect, but like at the end of the day, people like the team compensates for each other. So like that's why, in my opinion, I don't really like think about the outside sources. It's mainly like the inside. Like, what is the team actively doing to make sure that we get the results that everyone wants? Because everyone wants us to succeed. Everyone wants to see us do well, especially internationally. So for us, it's just like, oh, what do we do about our problems now, and how we can fix it in like the next coming weeks.
Was it rough coming into like? Well, I don't want to say the favorite team, but always been like a strong team. Is it rough when you start losing games? Is that really bad for the team, like morale?
mm,
And how do
Um,
you bounce back?
I think it's a big shock because I think like our team environment just thinks we're the best and like we're just like no one can compete with us. But I think um that kind of happened like split one where we kind of like dropped a lot of games randomly to
mm,
like the lower tier teams and like it's just mainly just like oh it's just a wake up call for a lot of the players. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the players kind of like think they're the best and like they are the best at the time, but like these people are practicing when you're not and like when like
mm,
and then you verse them and you're like oh I'm dying to them 2v2 or like I'm losing like these people are trying when you're not and like of course they're going to like make these shocking performances and like I think it's a big wake up call for a lot of players and like that's why for me like with my team it's like my team is like oh like if this happens like that's when they start grinding. They're like oh we got shocked and now we have to do improve but they don't have that same in my opinion like goal to like oh win PCS and like do everything we can like getting up to that point. It's like oh reach PCS and then we like think about PCS then instead of like oh every step of the journey is like very
mm.
important for our success at PCS.
Fair enough. Man,
Yeah.
I've every single question, you're just echoing like the same thing. It's just you really want to make sure OCE is doing good. It's not
Yeah,
like obviously you want your team to do good. Let's not say you don't have the best
no of
like
course
mindset
like
for your team, but you just seem like you just really want OCE to do well. You just have that drive for like the whole region. That's really nice to see.
I just want to represent my roots. Like my roots is like O's, and like for me, it's like of course I want to win and I want to represent because I think I'm the best. But like that doesn't like negate the idea that like if someone reached out for help, I won't help them. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Is that like because like if I don't help that person, that creates that cycle of that isolation where like oh
Mm,
these players just can't reach out to someone like higher up and be like ask for help and like these people like wanting to get into the scene just can't get into the scene because I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna help you. Like stuff off, you know. Like that's what I'm saying is that like I want to create like a system where like oh like new and up and coming players can reach out to like these pros and like actually actively want to help each other. That's just how we grow, and I think that's like for me, I think it's biggest for OS because like we don't have a lot of people, we don't have a lot of like I guess populace. So for me, it's like improving the circle that we have, even if it's small, is a good thing for all of
True.
dude, come
Facts.
on, man. Just
us.
He's so nice, huh?
oh, it's not even that. Like he's literally saying everything that's been in my brain for so long, and it's just honestly, it's the most refreshing thing because no one else thinks like that. Like I've been so by just a little bit of backstory on me,
Yeah.
my Twitch stream since day
Mhm.
one has been dedicating to making League of Legends OS a more positive and friendly environment for people to feel welcome since day
Ooh,
one,
that's an awesome goal.
and I've held on to that fucking for so long, and I've been streaming for 5+ years, and I'm
Mm.
like, I'm still going, I'm grinding away. So it's just nice to see that someone who is higher up than me has a very similar goal. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm like, oh, I think I've just met my idol.
I just,
Oh,
that's what I mean. I just think that our community's small, so like I think that like getting in connection with everyone, helping each other, I think is like the biggest way to like keep our community thriving and keeping
yeah.
this like coming for years to years. And like that's what I'm saying is like for different regions, of course, it might not be as like welcoming because like there's so many people, there's so much more like information you can get, like there's so much more like
Mm,
things like resources, but like O's, we don't have the same resources. So like that's what I'm saying is like if we want the best results, we have to just look inwards with each other. So
yeah. Okay. Well, inside that, then, like you've talked about how we already know you're such an inspirational guy. Who do you look up to in regards to the players?
oh, players like Faker, like
Okay.
Faker's like yeah, Faker 100% because like to me, okay, I've had this philosophy recently. I'm like until Faker retires, I won't be retiring. Like no matter what, because like for me, whenever I tune into a T1 game and I see Faker play, how can I not want to be the best that I can be and win? Like
Yeah.
how can I not compete? Like that's what I'm saying. Like whenever I see Faker, like until like the new guys go in. That like that to me is like oh then I'll lose like that whole mark. But when I see like double lift play or faker play, or when I see like these really good players like owner, like I just how
Mm,
can I not stay around and play? And that's why like for me, I've always said until Faker retires, I won't be retiring. I'll be playing as long as he is. So
I think he's
All
gonna
right.
play forever.
I think yeah, dude. Have you
Genuinely,
seen the T1? They have acupuncture and everything in studio.
dude, they
So
got the
Faker's like
best.
feeling a little off. Massage.
yeah, like literally that. Where's my massage? Honestly, like why can't I get that? Hello?
Dude,
Just talk to
Faker's
your
hands.
teammate.
Do you hear how much Faker's hands are insured for?
No,
It's like
how
$2
much?
million or something.
That's
For his
actually
hand.
crazy.
Like for it's just his hands. Like if he gets in a car accident and he breaks a hand, $2 million in the bank. I don't know how much
That's
your
crazy.
hands worth.
Yeah, I wish it was worth that much. Let's
Easy
just say
two
that.
milli.
Yeah, I wish.
All right. Well, we've been like positive, and you want to spread a positive message. So, I have a question for you that
Yep.
shares the same positive message. Who do you think's the worst top laner in the league?
Oh, I've already said it, but Chippies. I think Chippies is the
Chippy's
worst.
the worst.
Who's the
Yeah,
worst?
I think Chippies is the worst. The
Why?
thing is, my explanation. Okay, I'm pushing I'm pushing out of my mind like the new top laners like Shinky and Tomazino. Like I don't want to like discredit them because like for me, like they haven't even had a split, so like I won't. That like for me, discrediting some like a new player like that, I think it's like overboard. For
Hmm.
me, the problem I have with Chippies is that like he just doesn't have an identity, and like he doesn't have like when I think of Chippies, I don't know what like that holds. Like I don't know like does that like is he a facilitator? Is he like a carry? Like he's not really a carry nowadays. Like that's what I'm saying is that like the hallmark of Chippies has kind of been lost over time. And like when I think about him now, he does like he has nothing. And like that's what I mean is like when I think about Chippies, he doesn't have that same hallmark or the same grasp. And I think that like when I verse the other top laners, he just doesn't have that same I guess finesse. And I think like for me having a identity, like when I look at someone and be like, oh, this person's really good at this and this and this, that's a good like hallmark. But when I think of Chippies, I don't know what he's really good at this and this and this. Like that's like it might be calling shots, but like for me, it's just like I just can't think of an identity for him, and like I think that's like a big thing for me as a player.
That's the most constructive way of answering that
Yeah.
question without being toxic at all.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying he's just lacking direction right now. He needs to
Yeah.
pick something to focus on and get really
Mm,
good at that, and he'll be way better as a player.
Yeah, because like before he was a carry player. Like you thought of him as his Camille, Fiora, like he's like
yeah,
Irelia.
Olaf.
That's why I'm like that. Yeah, like he's Olaf. But like for me nowadays, like I don't like when I see him play, he just seems like he's not the same, or he doesn't have like a like he's transitioned into or a tank play or something isn't the same. And I feel like it's just forced upon him instead of being like grasping it and being like, oh, this is my meta. Even if the meta shifts, I'm still gonna play Fiora or I'm still gonna play Camille and like stuff like that. And I just feel like he's always been like lost in the sauce, I guess.
Well, your like identity, I would say, is like a very solid fundamental top laner that can like
Mm,
really fill most of the things to round out a team. So
Yep.
what's one champion that you want
mm.
to play always, and people on your team just say no, we're not playing that?
Oh, want to play always the one champion.
Well, I mean, or it's like, man, this champion here is really good, and your team's just like, no shot, it's not happening.
Like like the funniest thing is that like I'm a really big Jace player, but like for me, like I just like Okay, maybe I'm just too used to like the team facilitating, but like I'm actually just enjoying myself playing Malphite. I love playing
Oh
Malphite.
my
Like I
god.
just want to play Malphite. I just want to play Ornn. Like these chants are just fun because like I don't know, like it's just when I play like MMORPGs, I always like to be the tank or the healer. It just fits like my personality, or like protecting the team or helping the team. Like for me, it's like I would like to play carries. I like to play the Kennen. I like to play the Gnar. I like to play the Jace. But like those champs just don't have the same gratification when like, I'm like, oh, the one to set the engage. You know, I'm setting the play, or I'm the one calling the shots, and I feel
Me
like that's what.
rock.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When I'm playing the tank, I'm like, oh, I'm the rock. I'm going in. I'm doing everything. So like for me, I just feel like I have so much more control when I play a tank, and I just it just resonates with me.
I
Bro.
was literally about to say, it's like you just sound like you just want to be in control of every situation. If they step up an inch, you're just like, yeah, I'm going in.
Yeah, I'm going in. Like this is my time, and that's why like for me when I play like when I think about like other champs like Jace and stuff, it's just like I have to rely on other people to set me up when I'll be
Mm.
poking and doing the damage, but like I want to be the one in the front line just like clapping him. I just want to be slapping. Like that's all I want to be doing. So like it's just that idea. I think I've just been too used to the tank meta. Honestly, I've been just too used to it.
So you're not loose anymore. You're not like, all right, this is
No.
the Teemo game of the century, right? This
Yeah,
is my Fiora angle.
no, I'm not that crazy, honestly.
Oh man. Do you still find yourself enjoying League in like off time, away from scrims, practice, all that? You still love the game?
Yeah, I love it. Like I always find like fascination in it because like at the end of the day, like it's always like ever growing. Like there's like one game will never be the same as another, and like that's the fun part. And like I always play different roles. I like for me, I kind of like there was a time in season 3 where I wanted to like quit because I was really burnt out in the game, and I played one game. I think it was like one game of Thresh support, and I landed every single hook in that game, and it literally like resonated with me, and like I just wanted to play the game forever. Like from that game, I was like, this game is amazing. Like, and that's what I mean. Is that like there's always like a reason to play, even if I get bored of my role or something. I try a new champ, and I'm like, oh, this champ is really fun, and then I just keep playing, and like that's what I mean. It's like you just get that diversity, and that's why I love top
Mm.
laners. But like you can play 80 carries top, you can play range top laners, tank top laners, bruisers. Like
Miscellaneous, the
yeah,
Yeah.
role.
that's why top lane is fun because there's so much things you can play. Where like all the other roles, like you have your set characters and that's it. But like I can play Alistair top, you know, like if it's a good matchup, or I can play like certain matchups that are good and they're not conventional top lanes, and that's why I love top laner, like top lane in general. So
Fair enough.
yeah. It's just mainly like for me, I wake up at 6 or like 7 every day. Like I always have a set time. I never like try and wake up later, and I always just try and have like for me, the best time to procrastinate is the morning because like when I always like to wake up early because like it gives my body time to just like wake up. So that's why I wake up ASAP and trying to like have like just read, or I just like I really like drawing, and I like to just do a bit of exercise. That's it. Like that's like the only things that I like to do like in my pastime, but like it's just mainly like waking up early, making sure my body like because I hate waking up before like I have a game or something because like I just feel sluggish. I feel like I wasted my day, and like for me it's like I have so much I can do. So like for me I just like reading. I like just getting into like everything that's happening in the world and trying to like keep myself updated. So it's just kind of like anything that like I'm interested in.
And we're back. So what I did actually say, I'm not sure if we did here. You draw, Bio. Like, what do you like to
Yeah,
draw?
it's kind of just anything. Like I said, miscellaneous. Like I used to draw a lot of like league characters. I like drawing cute stuff. I don't know. It's just mainly just anything that comes to mind. Because like for me, I'm not a big like photo taker, and for me it's like drawings is like a way to like have a memory, you know, like it's something to like
Mm.
have in like to look back on and be like, oh, this is where I was, or what I was thinking about at the time, or this is how I expressed myself, and like this is where I am now. And like I kind of express myself through drawings, and it's kind of like interesting to think about it, but like I've just never like I wasn't a big photo taker, and like for me, I want to be like able to like remember my memories and like have like things that like are very personal to me, like over time, just through drawings. So yeah,
Damn.
You have one close that you can show. I'm really
Yeah,
curious
I
now.
wanna.
like I can probably send a picture later. I don't have anything close. Yeah, I don't
All
have
right,
anything close.
please
I want
do.
to see what I want to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I want to tell you like a little thing that I literally sent to Corvy today that I'm going to start
Yeah.
doing. So I studied graphic design.
Yeah.
So I'm a drawer as well. I
Mhm.
said in the next split, the next season of Two Summoners, for every guest we have, I'm going to live draw their portrait as we interview them and then show it at the end. And then my
Yeah.
goal is to build up a bank of them. And then at the Dream Hacks or whatever big event it is, I'm going to give it to that person and be like, here you go, here's your drawing, and just have a bit of fun with it. So
Wait,
it's a
that's
shame
awesome.
it's not split 3 because I would have drawn you.
No, that would be sick.
Draw him anyway. Get him to sign his own face.
Yeah.
at Dream
Oh my god.
Oh, look, I could
So
grab a photo.
sick.
It probably wouldn't be too hard.
Hey, that's an NFT.
That's sick.
LCO NFTs.
Oh, it's another. Look, I started LCO bingo. I think I can start LCO NFTs.
I believe in you, honestly. I do.
Do you have like a routine for like game day? Do you like do like ums and ahs, like star jumps, a particular pair of underwear?
I
Mm.
usually just meditate. Like I'm a big like fan of meditating. Like I think that like getting the like in that mindset of like, oh, I'm picking these champs, like the matchups I'm going into, what they can pick, the surprise picks, how our like the comps that we're playing over time. It's just that, like I can just kind of like visualize the game before the game even happens. So like for me, like I'm mentally prepared. So like no matter what happens like before the game, like when we hit the rift, like I'm ready. And that's why like I just don't want to go into the game with nerves or worries about like, oh, what champ am I gonna pick when if he picks this, or like, oh my god, I'm versing like a hard matchup. Like I just want to be like, oh, if he picks it, these are my answers, or like if he picks it, I have this against it, or like I just want to be able to like visualize it in my head because like I'm very big into that. So
It's the LCO Gandhi, dude. Literally all of it, but you're like also one of those cool Gandhis that like can fight in martial arts because you're like, yeah, you're cool and everything, but I'm still gonna beat you, like.
yeah,
But I'm gonna be real chill about it, but you're fucked, like.
yeah. Oh my
I've
God.
seen the 10 million moves, and this is the only outcome.
I've been playing this game for 13 years. If I don't like have like any muscle memory, like that, then it's doomed. Like I can just know like how things are supposed to go.
I thought I was an old like League of Legends frog because I was playing since like season 2. Man's playing since the game got created. How did you find League? Like,
Yeah.
where was that?
Oh, so my brother was like literally introduced me to the game, and like at the time I didn't really have an IGN, and like how my IGN even like became about was so my okay, when I was 15, my IGN was Mr. Biohazard. Yeah, that was my name, and I hated that name. I just could not continue that name. If I continued that, it would be doomed. So like my brother kind of helped me. Was like, oh, you know what? Let's add bio. And like at the time, I was a big fan of the Panthers in the NRL. So I kind of just like mixed the two together, and like that was just how it created. Like I was just a big NRL fan, and like I was like, "Oh, the Panthers just it sounds good. Like, why not?" And he kind of introduced me to the game, and I just went from there. And like, I kind of was going through my phases of ADC, jungle, then ADC, and then I went back to top. So that's
So
just
you
how I found
yoinked
it.
his name.
No, no. So his name is like he's like Richards. So like his name is different, but like he kind of helped me create the name because
Yeah.
like I
Oh,
just didn't
okay.
know. I didn't know how to like because like honestly, my name was Mr. Biohazard. Like me, like I'm already bad at name like creating names. You know, like I'm the worst. So like I needed my brother to help me. So like he was just like, oh, have a bit of your old name and then add Panther. Like it makes sense. So like because that was my identity at the time. So it just
Yeah.
worked.
I
Have you thought
wanna
about
throw
changing
you.
it?
Yeah, I was literally about to ask that. Be like, if you had to change it to anything, what would you change it to?
Oh, if I had to change it to anything, like I actually can't think of that. Like, what would I change it to? I just love my name so much. Honestly, like it's kind of like has that I don't know, it just has that like namesake now. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to think about like without it. Like I've had like really bad names, and I don't think because I've been so bad at like like naming stuff, I don't think I'll ever create a better one than this. So I appreciate my brother for like this, honestly.
Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you sure
his
you're
name.
not going to rename yourself to Big Bicep?
No, no,
Big
no,
bicep.
no.
Yes.
Big bicep beat on or big
Where's the
bicep
flex?
Biopanther, like
Where's the
yeah.
flex?
Flex. Oh my
Oh,
god.
man.
I remember I did that at MSI. That was just cursed.
Yeah, I saw it on like the wiki when I was looking you up. Just like classic. Hot
Yeah.
guy six pack.
No, because like my
Um,
nickname was Okay, like in school, because I used to always just do push-ups and sit-ups. Like my nickname was BBB, and it was like Big Bicep Beat On, and that was like my nickname. That's why like it started the whole thing about oh can you flex and do all this stuff. So I kind of just was like, you know what, whatever. So yeah, it's dumb.
Classic.
It's a good nickname.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't as creative,
It
unfortunately.
was like probably just redhead.
No, it's just Pike.
Oh,
Like,
It's literally just my name.
fair enough.
Even the teachers called me that. I don't think anyone knew I had a first name all through high school. It was
oh
great.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
they
like
just called you Pike.
they just called me Pike because me and my brother, because my brother's older, he was also
Hmm.
known as Pike. So they would never call us by our first name. It was like, "Wait, Pike, get over here." You're like, "Yeah, all right." That's all
Would
we
you get
did.
confused with your brother or?
Nah, we look and sound identical, but no, we weren't.
Okay,
It was just lucky.
just lucky.
Well, we're coming to the end, by you've been an absolutely phenomenal guest. So I guess what are a couple? We've got a couple more questions though.
Yeah,
What's it like as a player between splits, like in scouting for like and new team invites? Can you break that down for us a little bit?
I think like that's probably like the scariest part for like pro players. I think that's like the biggest thing because like that's just when like all options are on the board and like your that's when like your performance matters the most because like they're like oh they have the last splits to look at when like oh this is a player we want to look at and stuff like that, and that's why like for me a lot of players like do sign really early like even before the split starts or even like months before because like they're scared because like job security is a very scary thing,
Mm,
and I think that a lot of pro players kind of sign too early or like they just don't grow themselves enough to like have the same value where that's why like a lot of pro players kind of just like they see a team, oh, I'm in it because like I don't want to be like lost in like oh new players taking my spots and all this stuff. So
mm,
I think it's probably one of the scariest things. But like for me, like once you get like into like that recognition, like once you like become like a very like I guess certain player, you kind of have the options to like look around. But I think it's one of the scariest parts for most pros.
So you got to a
mm,
position where you don't need to really worry about that.
Yeah, for me, like that's what I mean. For me, I think it's like I'm very like thankful, but like for me, like I kind of like worked hard for it, and I
mm,
went through that like grind. Like I've been playing ever since like 2018, and like I've always been like on the top like end of teams. So it's kind of like I've shown it over time. But I think that like when you're a new player and like don't do well or like something happens bad, like that's when it's very scary because you're just like, oh, I
mm.
want to keep doing this, but like a lot of people will just write me off because I did bad, you know? Like I had a split where I went 1 and 21. Like I went really bad. Like after the split that I won, like I went 1 and 21. Like I literally lost the whole split. So for me, like I've had my ups, but I've had my lows, you know? I had both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's just that like journey for me that like it's kind of like I got lucky getting in, but then like over time I got better and better and like now I've just like have this like mainstay like energy, I feel.
Hmm. All right. Final question before the fun one.
Yep.
Is there any particular teams in OC right now in the LCO that you would consider your toughest opponents to verse? What makes them
Team
challenging?
Team Bliss, and that
Yeah.
is the like for me, it's always been Team Bliss, and I think it's just the fact that like when I see that team, like they work the hardest, like they work as
Mm,
hard as we do, and that's why like I think both like our matches are always the closest because like even if like the other teams may take a game of us or um they might look close, like we'll always win it. Like we're with Bliss, like I feel like they have like that I guess that scariness where they have like the niche picks that we're not prepared for, or they just
mm.
have like the energy where they play a lot and they show it. They like try a lot, and I feel like that just makes us want to try even harder to keep our mainstay first place. So I think it's just like we can't just like let our guard down for like a second against Team Bliss.
Yeah, and I know
Fair enough.
Calvin felt very much the same. I
Yeah.
believe he was sort of just like, nah, Chiefs. He without skipping a beat. We're like, what sort of team? And he's just like, nah, Chiefs. No one else. Just
Yeah,
Chiefs.
cause I was talking to other players and I like when I talked to like Lemus at DreamHack and all this stuff and like they respect me the most. They were like, "Oh, I respect you the most out of the whole Chiefs roster. I like you try the most." So I'm like I appreciate like those kind words, but at the end of the day, like they are like the scariest team in my
Mm.
opinion, like against everyone else.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, okay, but that does bring us to the end. But I always like to throw in a for funsy rando question. Even
Go
Corvy
for it.
doesn't know this question. Like I
Okay.
just throw it wild. So, if you were a tree,
Yep.
what type of tree would you be?
um,
Um, I would be a willow tree because in
Oh, I was
RuneScape
thinking
you have
that.
to be level 30 to like chop it down, and I think that like back in my days when I played RuneScape a lot, like I was a free to play player, so those are the like before the yew trees were like level 60, like that was the only trees I could cut down, and like that lasted for like months. So for me, I'd probably a willow tree.
Yeah, chill in a Draenor village, get attacked by
Yeah.
some dark wizards, man.
Like literally, I think that's my best answer. Other than like a Sakura tree, I think that's probably my best one.
Ooh,
So yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Corvy, what sort of
yeah.
tree
What
would
about
you
you, Corby?
be?
Dude. I don't know. A palm tree. And the reason
Palm
why
tree.
is because it's the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head.
That's a nice tree.
And they're tall. I'm tall. 6'4",
Yeah.
by the way, guys. Just
Yeah.
quickly. See, I'm 6'4", by the way. Just.
And they usually have coconuts and stuff. So like,
Oh
Means-
yeah, I can
means you
feed
got
people.
yeah,
big
feed
nuts.
people.
Let's
Um,
go.
I love bios. Just like, oh, you can feed people. I'm just like, you got balls.
Big nuts.
All right, man.
I don't have to tell you my tree. I get to ask the question.
Okay.
Wait, no, hold up.
Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, all right. No, I had a slight think about it. I'd probably be like a cool, like a red oak, just because I'm red. I'm a big
Yeah.
guy too. Mighty like an oak, you know. Just,
No, it just works. It's actually
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, it made sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Before we end, though, I'm gonna do it quickly. We all got to give like a thumbs up or a wave because this is for the final. This is for the thumbnail. Now we're gonna be doing this from now on. So just a big old. That's beautiful. Perfect. I can work with that. Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, dude. Like, it's been a lot of fun. Who would you like to shout out real quick? Who would you shout out? Who do you think would love to come onto the Two Summoners and have a chat with us?
I think that like why not is probably like one of the best ones to like reach out to. I think he's
Yep.
very like informative and he talks a lot. If there was any from my team, I would ask like Quinn. Like, I would ask Raze. I think he's like a really big mainstay. Like he's been playing for a very long time, and I think he has a
Mm.
lot of professional experience. So I think that he will give a lot of like very insightful answers, and I think that like he's very nice to talk to as well. So
Love that. Well, thank you so much, man.
man.
We'll be talking around. We'll see you soon.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Cheers,
much love,
mate.
man. Thanks for the interview.
Yeah.